Dr. Hill is entitled to her opinion. But when the Economist magazine...
When does opinion become fact? Does 17 intelligence services saying it? Does every Western intelligence ally saying Russia did this? I'm just sort of confused. At what point is it no longer an opinion for you?
I don't think it's an opinion. I think it's a fact. I believe the reporting by the Politico magazine.
You just said Fiona Hill. You just said Fiona Hill gave an opinion.
I believe the report. I believe the reporting by the Financial Times. I believe the reporting by the Washington Examiner. You should read the articles, Chuck. They're very well documented. And I believe that a Ukrainian district court in December of 2018 slapped down several Ukrainian officials for meddling in our election as a violation of Ukrainian law. Now, I didn't report those facts. Reputable journalists reported those facts. Does that mean that the Ukrainian leaders were more aggressive than Russia? No, Russia was very aggressive, and they're much more sophisticated. But the fact that Russia was so aggressive does not exclude the fact that President Poroshenko actively worked for Secretary Clinton. Now, if I'm wrong, and if all these journalists are wrong...
I mean, my goodness, wait a minute. Senator Kennedy, you now have the president of Ukraine saying he actively worked for the Democratic nominee for president. I mean, now come on. I mean, I got to put up... You realize the only other person selling this argument outside the United States is this man, Vladimir Putin. This is what he said on November 20th. Thank God nobody is accusing us anymore of interfering in U.S. elections. Now they're accusing Ukraine. Well, let them sort this out among themselves. You just accused a former president of Ukraine. You've done exactly what the Russian operation is trying to get American politicians to do. Are you at all concerned that you've been duped?
No, because you just read the articles. Do you believe the Economist magazine is a reputable journal? It's been around, I think, since 1843.
Do you think there's a difference in criticizing? Do you think there's a difference in a country criticizing a presidential candidate who essentially endorsed another country's invasion and annexation of a part of their country as equivalent to what Russia did with the DNC?
Well, let me put it this way, Chuck. Let's suppose, and I don't believe it, but you're right, and I'm wrong. Then what harm would it do to allow the President of the United States, who has a demonstrated record fighting foreign corruption, to introduce evidence?
Why doesn't he?
What harm would it do?
He has been provided every opportunity to provide exculpatory evidence on any of this, and they have chosen not to.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
Rounds 1 and 2 by Speaker Pelosi and Chairman Schiff are as rigged as a carnival ring toss, and we both know that. If I were a prosecutor and I were prosecuting you for a felony and I went to a federal judge and I said, Judge, we both know Chuck's guilty, so let me call witnesses. Give me an order that he can't call any witnesses. He can't cross-examine my witnesses. He can't offer any rebuttal evidence. His lawyer can't even be there. You know what that federal judge would do?
Right. Well, that wasn't the trial. You're going to get a trial.
Handcuffs, or he'd put me in a straitjacket because I'd be sanctioned.
This White House,
and that's what's happened here.
Senator, this White House has not cooperated on any oversight at all. Have they not brought some of this upon themselves?
Have they allowed the president to call his own witnesses? No. Have they allowed him to have his lawyer present? No. Have they allowed him to offer rebuttal evidence? No. Have they allowed him to cross-examine the witnesses that were handpicked by Speaker Pelosi? No. Now, whether you like the president or you don't,
okay,
we both, I know, agree with due process.
This is Republican Senator John Kennedy once again going on national television to perpetuate Russian talking points. Keep in mind, he did the exact same thing last weekend by appearing on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace and claiming that Ukraine was responsible for hacking the DNC server during the 2016 election.
Senator Kennedy, who do you believe was responsible for hacking the DNC and Clinton campaign computers, their emails? Was it Russia or Ukraine?
I don't know, nor do you, nor do any of us. Ms. Hill,
well, I mean, let me just interrupt to say the entire intelligence community says it was Russia.
Right, but it could also be Ukraine. I'm not saying that I know one way or the other. I'm saying that Ms. Hill is entitled to her opinion, but no rebuttal evidence was allowed to be offered. We know, at least the Republicans in the House wanted to call a witness, a DNC political operative, who lobbied the Ukrainian embassy to be involved, get involved in the 2016 election. We don't know if Ukraine did that. We don't know to what extent, because they won't let the president offer his evidence. And that's why I'll say once again, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence if you're not allowed to call your own witnesses.
Kennedy was responding to the testimony of Fiona Hill, the White House's former top Russia expert, claiming that she was merely voicing her opinion when she said that Russia, not Ukraine, was responsible for the 2016 hack on the DNC.
Based on questions and statements I've heard, some of you on this committee appear to believe that Russia and its security services did not conduct a campaign against our country, and that perhaps, somehow, for some reason, Ukraine did. This is a fictional narrative that has been perpetrated and propagated by the Russian security services themselves. The unfortunate truth is that Russia was the foreign power that systematically attacked our democratic institutions in 2016. This is the public conclusion of our intelligence agencies, confirmed in bipartisan congressional reports. It is beyond dispute.
Of course, it wasn't so much her opinion as it was the collective belief of the entire intelligence community. But hey, apparently if even one insane Republican doesn't believe that facts are real, then I guess that's enough to throw the entire truth into question. But this weekend, Kennedy is claiming, yet again without evidence, that former Ukrainian President Poroshenko was actively working for Hillary Clinton. And look, I get that the GOP literally needs Hillary Clinton to stay in the news because right-wing fear-mongering only works if there's a boogeyman, but someone should probably tell Republicans that their Hillary Clinton fever dreams and conspiracy theories are getting particularly tired after 3 years on a constant loop. Now, to be clear, Poroshenko was not actively working for Hillary Clinton. This is a bad faith reference to the fact that there were several high-ranking Ukrainian officials who were openly critical of Trump prior to taking office, including the then Ukrainian ambassador to the United States who wrote an op-ed criticizing Trump. But maybe, just maybe, that had something to do with his cozy relationship with Vladimir Putin, who had just gotten finished, illegally invading and annexing part of their sovereign territory. So while I'm pretty sure the fact that someone writing an op-ed doesn't quite qualify as the full-blown international conspiracy that Republicans would have you believe, the more important thing to realize is that of course Ukraine wasn't rooting for the guy being propped up by the country that had just declared war on them. And beyond that, as if we need any more evidence to debunk this bad faith conspiracy theory, there's the fact that leaders from around the world criticized Trump prior to him taking office, not just Ukraine. The French ambassador called him a vulture. Ecuador's president called his discourse dumb. Mexico's president said he arrived in the same way that the world's most dangerous dictators arrived. Even Bibi Netanyahu said he rejects Trump's remarks about Muslims. In total, more than 60 foreign officials condemned Trump prior to him taking office. And yet the only country being accused by Republicans of being on Hillary Clinton's payroll just so happens to be the one that propagates Russian talking points. How convenient for Vladimir Putin. Another one of Kennedy's baseless talking points is that a Ukrainian district court found that Ukrainian officials had meddled in our 2016 election. Only one, that ruling was canceled out on appeal, meaning that Kennedy is purposefully perpetuating incomplete information, and two, his vague reference to meddling refers to the fact that 2 independent Ukrainian lawmakers revealed Paul Manafort's name in the so-called Black Ledger that was alleged to show suspicious payments to a range of officials. That's it. That's the election meddling that John Kennedy was referencing, revealing the name of Trump's former campaign chairman who ultimately ended up in prison because he's a criminal. But this is in no way, on no planet, equivalent to the top-down, large-scale interference campaign ordered by Putin and carried out by the Russians. To suggest that because Manafort's name was revealed in a document, that Ukraine interfered in the 2016 election to the same degree as Russia, simply put, could not be more disingenuous or more of a lie. Kennedy goes on to tout Trump's record as the ardent anti-corruption crusader that we all apparently know he is. Only, where has he ever rooted out corruption? Sure, he uses it as a buzzword to appeal to a base that's dumb enough to take his word for it, but otherwise, Donald Trump hasn't done a single thing, either at home or abroad, to take on corruption. Unless, of course, you count the fact that half of his own inner circle has been indicted or sent to prison. And finally, Kennedy repeats the pathetic GOP defense that Trump is being attacked without due process process in that he's not able to defend himself in the impeachment inquiry. Only one, the impeachment inquiry is not a trial. That part happens in the Senate if Trump is impeached in the House, which Kennedy, as a senator, clearly knows. And two, just today the White House announced that it would not participate in the December 4th hearing. In other words, Republicans are angry that Trump isn't getting due process, despite the fact that he's refusing to participate in the process in the first place. Yeah, no, makes total sense. But here's the thing about all of this. Kennedy knows he's lying. But the point isn't the truth, it's to go on national television and manipulate low-information voters who are guilty of the crime of believing they're elected officials. He is purposefully disseminating disinformation because he's decided that it's more important to protect Donald Trump than to be honest with the American people. I'm not sure I can convey the gravity of what this man is doing here. He is casting doubt on the fact that Russia interfered in our election, literally absolving the country that attacked us, while pointing the finger at an innocent country that was invaded by the same country that attacked us, all in deference to Donald Trump to protect him after he got caught extorting that same country for help in the next election. It is so perverse and immoral that it should disqualify Kennedy from being able to hold public office, but because the GOP is a pit of corruption and moral bankruptcy, it won't. But at the very least, it should preclude him from getting booked on cable news shows. This man, like so many in the Republican Party in the age of Trump, will lie to you on air. He will sow doubt and prop up dangerous pro-Kremlin talking points and peddle disinformation. And so when he's inevitably booked on another cable show to purposefully spew lies to the Republican base, the responsibility will lie with the show that booked him for casting yet more doubt on the truth as we know it.